The alarm bells rang through the command center on Korvax Prime like angry metal birds. Admiral Thylex rushed from his private quarters, his blue skin turning darker with worry. Something was very wrong. Report, he barked at the young officer standing at the main control panel. Sir, we're getting strange readings from the outer rim sensors, the officer said, his voice shaking. Multiple contacts approaching our system. The energy signatures are impossible. Thylex frowned and walked to the large viewing screen. Numbers and symbols flashed across it in the alien script of his people. He had been defending the system for 30 years and he had never seen anything like this. How many ships? He asked. That's the problem, sir. We count over 200 vessels, but the energy output suggests they should be much smaller. Either our sensors are broken, or these ships are using technology we don't understand. In the prisoner holding area below the command center, Captain Jake Morrison heard the commotion above. He pressed his ear to the metal wall of his cell, listening to the worried voices of his alien captors. For 2 years he had been trapped on this world, forced to watch as the Zephyrian Empire used human prisoners for their twisted experiments. Jake had been the captain of a small Earth patrol ship when the aliens first came. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes. The Zephyrians had weapons and shields that made human technology look like stone tools. They had captured him and hundreds of others, taking them back to their worlds as prizes. But now something was different. The aliens sounded scared. The readings are getting stronger, Jake heard one of them say. Whatever these ships are, they're moving faster than our fastest cruisers. Jake's heart began to race. Could it be? After all this time, had Earth finally found them? Back in the command center, Admiral Thylex was growing more frustrated by the minute. His science officers couldn't explain what they were seeing. The approaching fleet was using some kind of drive system that bent space itself. It was technology far beyond anything in their databases. Sir, another officer called out, we're detecting human biosignatures aboard those vessels. The command center fell silent. Every alien present turned to stare at the speaker. That's impossible, Thylex said slowly. Humans are primitive. They barely have space travel. We conquered their outer colonies with a single battle group. The readings are clear, sir. Those ships are full of humans. Dr. Veltar, the chief science officer, stepped forward. He was older than the others, with scars across his face from many battles. Admiral, 3 years ago we classified humans as Category 7. Low technology, weak military, suitable only for labor and research subjects. I remember, Thylex replied. Their ships were pathetic. We destroyed their orbital defenses without losing a single vessel. Then how do you explain this? Dr. Veltar pointed at the screen showing the approaching fleet. These energy readings suggest weapons and shields more powerful than our own. Meanwhile, far out in space, the human fleet moved through the darkness like a school of metal fish. At the center of the formation, the massive battleship UES Liberty cut through space with grace that would have surprised any alien who saw it. On the bridge, Admiral Charles Baker stood with his hands behind his back, watching the stars ahead. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. Behind him, his officers worked quietly at their stations, preparing for what was to come. Distance to target? He asked. 18 hours to the outer edge of their system, replied Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez. She was young but had proven herself in the battles that brought them here. All ships report ready, sir, Baker nodded. It had taken 2 years to build this fleet. 2 years of working day and night, using every piece of alien technology they had captured, every lesson they had learned from their first terrible defeat. When the Zephyrians first attacked Earth's colonies, humanity had been caught completely off guard. Their ships were slow and weak compared to the alien vessels. Their weapons couldn't even scratch the enemy shields. It had been a massacre, but humans had one advantage the aliens didn't understand. They could learn from their mistakes. Sir, called Commander Pete Williams from the tactical station. Long-range sensors show the aliens are mobilizing their defensive fleet. Looks like they know we're coming. Good, Baker said with a cold smile. I want them to see us coming. I want them to remember what they did to our people. Back on Korvax Prime, the activity in the command center had reached a fever pitch. Officers ran back and forth carrying reports and updates. The approaching human fleet was now less than a day away, and Admiral Thylex was running out of options. Have you contacted the High Command? He asked his communications officer. Yes, sir. They're sending the 3rd Fleet to assist us. 400 ships should arrive within 6 hours. Thylex felt some relief. 400 ships against 200. Even if the humans had improved their technology, numbers would win the day. Sir, Dr. Veldtar approached with a worried expression. I've been analyzing the human ship designs from our long-range scans. They're not just improved versions of their old ships. These are completely new designs. What do you mean? The hull shapes, the weapon placements, even the way they move in formation. It's like they studied everything we did to them and built ships specifically to counter our advantages. Down in the prison cells, Jake Morrison smiled for the first time in 2 years. He couldn't understand the alien language perfectly, but he caught enough words to know what was happening. A human fleet was coming, and the aliens were terrified. He looked around at the other human prisoners in nearby cells. There was Dr. Lisa Hayes, a scientist who had been captured while trying to evacuate a research station. There was Captain Alex Thompson, who had lost his entire crew fighting the aliens. There were dozens of others, all waiting, all hoping. Do you hear that? Jake whispered to Lisa in the next cell. I hear it, she replied. They're scared. After all this time, they're finally scared. Above them, Admiral Thylex made his decision. He would gather every ship he could and meet this human fleet in open space. Whatever technology they had developed, whatever tricks they thought they could use, the Zephyrian Empire would crush them just as they had before. He had no idea that this time, the humans were ready for him. Dr. Veldtar worked through the night, his 6 eyes focused on the data streams flowing across his screens. The approaching human fleet was now close enough for detailed scans, and what he was seeing made his blood run cold. This cannot be right, he muttered, checking his instruments for the 3rd time. The biosignatures were definitely human, but the technology surrounding them was unlike anything in the Zephyrian databases. He called up the old files from humanity's first contact 3 years ago. Back then, human ships had been simple metal boxes with basic fusion drives. Their weapons were crude projectile systems that couldn't even dent Zephyrian shields. Their defensive systems had been laughably weak, but these new ships were different. The hulls were made from materials that bent sensor beams around them. The engines produced energy readings that suggested they could move faster than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. And the weapons. Dr. Veldtar's hands shook as he studied the weapon signatures. Each human ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Impossible, he whispered. How did they advance so quickly? In the command center above, Admiral Thylex was having similar thoughts. The tactical display showed the human fleet approaching in a formation he had never seen before. Instead of the straight lines and simple patterns that most species used, the humans moved in complex spirals and curves that seemed to have no military purpose. What are they doing? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Their formation makes no sense. They're leaving gaps in their defensive coverage and splitting their firepower. Thylex frowned. 3 years ago, human military tactics had been basic and predictable. They grouped their ships together and attacked head-on, making them easy targets. This new formation looked almost random, like they didn't know what they were doing. But something in his gut told him that wasn't true. Captain Jake Morrison could hear the growing panic in the alien voices above his cell. Through the thin walls, conversations drifted down in fragments. Words like impossible and how did they came up again and again. He pressed his face to the small window in his cell door. In the corridor outside, he could see alien guards running back and forth with worried expressions. Some carried weapons, others held data tablets, all of them looked afraid. Jake, whispered Dr. Lisa Hayes from the cell next to his. Are you hearing this? They keep talking about human ships with impossible technology. I hear it, Jake replied. Sounds like Earth didn't just sit around after we were captured. Lisa was quiet for a moment. As a scientist, she understood better than most how far behind human technology had been. Jake, 3 years isn't enough time to close that kind of gap. What they're describing sounds like technology that should take decades to develop. Unless, Jake said with a growing smile, we had some help. In another part of the prison complex, Captain Alex Thompson was listening to his own guards. He had always been good with languages, and his 2 years of captivity had given him plenty of time to learn the Zephyrian tongue. What he was hearing made his heart race with hope and pride. The aliens weren't just worried about the approaching fleet. They were terrified. Their conversations revealed that human ships were using modified versions of Zephyrian technology, but somehow improved beyond what the aliens thought possible. Humans are supposed to be stupid, one guard was saying to another. How did they figure out quantum fold drives? We've been using that technology for centuries, and they've made it better in just 3 years. Alex smiled in his cell. That was humanity's greatest strength, something these aliens had never understood. Humans didn't just copy technology. They improved it. Far above the planet's surface, the human fleet continued its approach. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Admiral Baker stood calmly while his officers provided updates. Enemy fleet composition confirmed, reported Commander Pete Williams. 437 vessels, including 12 heavy battlecruisers and 46 destroyer-class ships. Our numbers? Baker asked, though he already knew the answer. 218 ships, sir. We're outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Lieutenant Sam Carter looked up from her communication station. Sir, we're receiving multiple transmission attempts from the alien fleet. They're demanding we identify ourselves and state our intentions. Baker considered this for a moment. The aliens wanted to talk, which meant they were uncertain. Good. Open a channel, he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a Zephyrian command ship. Admiral Thylex appeared on screen, his blue skin darker than normal with stress. Human vessels, Thylex began in accented English. You are entering Zephyrian space without permission. Identify yourselves and explain your presence here. Baker stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. I am Admiral Charles Baker of the United Earth Fleet. We are here for our people. Your people are prisoners of war, taken in legitimate military action. You have no claim to them. We have every claim, Baker replied coldly. And we have the force to back it up. Thylex's eyes widened slightly. The human's confidence was unsettling. 3 years ago, human commanders had begged for mercy when faced with Zephyrian firepower. You are outnumbered more than 2 to 1, Thylex pointed out. Your ships, while improved, cannot possibly match the combined might of our fleet. Baker smiled, and something in that expression made Thylex take a step backward. Admiral, Baker said slowly, 3 years ago you attacked our colonies because you thought we were weak. You were right. We were weak then. We were unprepared, unorganized, and overconfident in our own abilities. And now, Thylex asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. Now we've had 3 years to study your technology, 3 years to understand your tactics, 3 years to prepare for this moment. Baker's smile grew wider. You taught us what we needed to know when you defeated us. Thank you for the education. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Thylex staring at a blank screen. Back on the planet's surface, the prison complex had erupted into barely controlled chaos. Alien guards were receiving conflicting orders. Some were told to move the prisoners to more secure locations. Others were ordered to prepare them for immediate execution if the human fleet attacked. Dr. Veltar burst into the command center with his latest analysis. Admiral, you need to see this immediately. What is it? Thylex demanded. I've been studying the human ship modifications. They haven't just improved our technology. They've found ways to use it that we never considered. Veltar's voice shook with excitement and fear. Their shields use a rotating frequency that makes them nearly impossible to penetrate with our standard weapons. Their engines can change direction faster than our targeting systems can track. And their weapons, what about their weapons? They're designed to disable, not destroy. Every weapon system on every human ship is calibrated to knock out our systems without causing total destruction. It's like they want to capture our ships instead of destroying them. Thylex felt a chill run down his spine. An enemy that wanted to capture rather than kill was far more dangerous than one seeking simple destruction. It meant they were thinking strategically, planning for what came after the battle. How long until they reach weapons range? He asked. 4 hours, sir. Thylex looked at the tactical display showing both fleets. The humans maintained their strange formation, moving through space like dancers following music only they could hear. His own ships were arranged in the traditional Zephyrian battle formation, designed for maximum firepower and protection. But for the first time in his military career, Admiral Thylex wondered if tradition would be enough. In his cell below, Jake Morrison heard the footsteps of guards moving quickly through the corridors. The time for waiting was almost over. Soon he would find out if humanity had truly learned from its past mistakes. The answer was racing toward them through the darkness of space. Emperor Zarketh's personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Korvax system with a flash of brilliant light. Behind it came the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, the Third Fleet, 400 of the most advanced warships in known space. The Emperor was not a being who accepted defeat easily. When news of the approaching human fleet had reached the capital world, he had immediately ordered his personal involvement. Humans had been nothing more than an annoyance 3 years ago. Now they dared to challenge the Empire directly. This insult would end in their complete destruction. Admiral Thylex, the Emperor's voice boomed across the communication channel. Report on the enemy fleet. Thylex appeared on the screen looking relieved to see reinforcements. Your Majesty, the humans have approximately 200 ships. Our analysis suggests they have made significant technological advances, but our combined force should be more than sufficient. Should be? The Emperor's eyes narrowed dangerously. Admiral, I did not travel across the galaxy to hear uncertainty. These humans defeated us once through trickery and surprise. They will not have that advantage again. On Corvax Prime, the activity in the prisoner compound had reached a dangerous level. Guards ran through the corridors, some carrying weapons, others moving equipment. The aliens were clearly preparing for something, but the human prisoners couldn't tell if it was an evacuation or an execution. Dr. Lisa Hayes watched through her cell window as alien technicians worked frantically on the security systems. For 2 years, she had been forced to help them improve their technology, always looking for ways to sabotage their work without being caught. Now it was time to use what she had learned. Jake, she whispered to the cell next to hers. I've been working on their security systems for months. If the right opportunity comes, I might be able to cause some problems for our hosts. What kind of problems? Jake whispered back. The kind that makes their command center go dark right when they need it most. Captain Alex Thompson, in a cell further down the corridor, had been counting guard rotations and timing their movements. As a military officer, he understood that rescue operations required precise coordination between outside forces and people on the ground. Listen, he called softly to the other prisoners. If our people are really coming, they're going to need our help. When the shooting starts, we need to be ready to act. What can we do from inside these cells? Asked another prisoner. We wait for the right moment, then we cause as much confusion as possible. Make it hard for the aliens to coordinate their defenses. Far above the planet, the two fleets moved toward each other like ancient armies preparing for battle. The human ships maintained their strange flowing formation, while the combined Zephyrian fleet arranged itself in the traditional wall of battle that had served the Empire for centuries. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Admiral Baker watched the tactical display with calm eyes. The alien fleet was impressive, he had to admit. More ships than he had hoped to face, better armed than intelligence had suggested, but intelligence had also missed something important about the human fleet. Commander Williams, Baker said to his tactical officer, initiate the Prometheus Protocol. Yes, sir. All ships, this is Liberty Actual. Prometheus Protocol is now in effect. Begin Phase 1 deployment. Across the human fleet, ships began to change position in ways that would have confused any observer. What had looked like random movement suddenly revealed itself as a carefully planned pattern. The human vessels spread out into a 3-dimensional formation that surrounded the approaching alien fleet from multiple angles. Emperor Zarketh watched this movement with growing concern. What are they doing? That formation leaves them vulnerable to concentrated fire. Unknown, Your Majesty, Admiral Thylex replied. Their tactics make no military sense. But Commander Pete Williams, watching from the Liberty's tactical station, knew better. Human tactics didn't need to make sense to aliens. They only needed to work. Sir, Lieutenant Sam Carter reported from communications. We're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It appears to be coming from the prisoner compound. Baker raised an eyebrow. Put it through. Dr. Lisa Hayes' voice crackled over the speakers, speaking quickly in a code she hoped the Admiral would understand. Liberty, this is Nightingale. The birds are in their cages, but the nest is ready to fall. Awaiting your signal to sing, Baker smiled. Military code for prisoners ready to assist, guards distracted, and sabotage prepared. Understood, Nightingale. Stand by for the dawn chorus. The code phrase for attack initiation. Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez, commanding the Fast Attack Squadron, checked her instruments one final time. Her ships were the smallest in the human fleet, but they had a specific job to do. While the main battle raged above, She would take her squadron down to the planet's surface to extract the prisoners. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader," she transmitted to her 12 ships. "Remember, we get one chance at this. The main fleet will keep the aliens busy, but we need to be fast." "Copy, Ghost Leader," came the reply from Captain Danny Kim in Ghost 2. "My team is ready for ground assault." Back on the planet's surface, Jake Morrison could hear the change in the alien voices around him. Where before there had been worry and uncertainty, now there was the sharp edge of panic. Through the walls, he could hear officers shouting orders and equipment being moved at a frantic pace. "Something's happening," he told the other prisoners. "Get ready." Dr. Hayes was already working, her hands moving quickly across a hidden panel she had been preparing for months. Years of forced labor on alien systems had taught her their weaknesses. One by one, she began activating the sabotage programs she had secretly installed throughout the compound's computer network. In the main command center, Admiral Thylex was coordinating with Emperor Zarketh when the first system failures began. Lights flickered, communication channels went dead for a few seconds, and several tactical displays showed error messages. "What is happening?" the Emperor demanded. "Unknown, Your Majesty. We're experiencing technical difficulties across multiple systems. Fix it immediately." But the problems were spreading, faster than the technicians could respond. Dr. Hayes had spent 2 years learning the alien systems, and she had used that knowledge well. Critical systems began failing in sequence, each one timed to cause maximum confusion. Above the planet, the human fleet had completed its deployment. What the aliens had seen as random movement was revealed to be a carefully planned trap. The Zephyrian ships found themselves in the center of a 3-dimensional cage, with human vessels positioned at every angle. Emperor Zarketh realized the danger too late. "All ships break formation and engage the enemy." But Admiral Baker had already given his own order. "All ships, this is Liberty Actual. You are cleared to engage. Remember, we want prisoners, not wreckage. Disable their ships, don't destroy them." The first human weapons fired and the real war began. Captain Thompson, listening from his prison cell, heard the distant rumble of explosions in space. Through the small window of his cell, he could see flashes of light in the sky above the planet. "Here they come," he whispered to his fellow prisoners. "Our people are here." The battle for Corvax Prime had begun, and for the first time in 3 years, the humans were ready for it. The first Zephyrian plasma barrage lit up space like a deadly fireworks display. Hundreds of energy bolts, each one capable of melting through a small asteroid, raced toward the human fleet at nearly the speed of light. Emperor Zarketh watched with satisfaction from his flagship's bridge. This was more like it. Whatever tricks the humans had learned, they would discover that raw firepower still ruled the galaxy. The plasma bolt struck the human ships and simply disappeared. "What?" The Emperor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "Where did our shots go?" Admiral Thylex was equally stunned. "The energy readings show direct hits on multiple human vessels, but there's no damage. It's like our weapons passed right through them." On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Admiral Baker watched the alien confusion with cold satisfaction. "Adaptive shield technology, courtesy of our friends the Zephyrians," he said to Commander Williams. "They taught us how their weapons worked when they used them on us. We just figured out how to make shields that eat plasma instead of stopping it." "Sir," Lieutenant Carter reported, "enemy fleet is attempting to reposition. They're breaking their battle formation." "Too late for that," Baker replied. "All ships return fire. Remember, disable only." The human response was devastating in its precision. Instead of the wild energy blasts the aliens expected, the human weapons fired tight beams of coherent energy that punched through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. But instead of destroying the alien ships, the beams targeted specific systems: engines, weapons, communications, life support controls. Within minutes, dozens of Zephyrian vessels found themselves helpless, drifting in space with all their systems shut down but their crews still alive. Emperor Zarketh felt a chill of fear run through his body. "How are they doing this? Our shields should stop any energy weapon." "Your Majesty," Dr. Veltar's voice came over the communication channel from the planet below. "I believe I understand. The humans aren't using standard energy weapons. They're using modified versions of our own plasma technology, tuned to specific frequencies that our shields can't block." "Impossible. No species has ever reverse-engineered our technology so completely." "Apparently humans can. Down on Korvax Prime, Dr. Lisa Hayes was having the time of her life. From her prison cell, she was remotely controlling the sabotage programs she had spent 2 years installing throughout the alien command structure. Every few minutes, another critical system would fail at exactly the wrong moment. "Jake," she called to the next cell. "How are you doing over there?" "Living the dream," Jake replied as he worked on the lock mechanism of his cell door. 2 years of watching these guards has taught me a few things about their security systems. In the corridor outside, alien guards were running back and forth in confusion. Half their communication systems were down. Their security cameras kept showing false images, and their door locks were opening and closing randomly. Captain Alex Thompson had already managed to get his cell door open and was working on freeing other prisoners. "Everyone stay quiet," he whispered. "Let the aliens think their systems are just malfunctioning. When the rescue team gets here, we want to be ready to move fast." Above them, the space battle was turning into a complete rout. The human fleet's strange formation was revealed to be a masterpiece of tactical planning. Every time the Zephyrian ships tried to concentrate their fire on one section of human vessels, they found themselves being attacked from 3 other directions. Commander Amy Rodriguez, leading the rescue squadron, watched the battle from her fast attack ship as she prepared for her descent to the planet's surface. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader. Main fleet has the enemy occupied. We're clear for planetary approach." "Copy, Ghost Leader," replied Captain Danny Kim. "Ground assault team is ready for prisoner extraction." Emperor Zarketh was becoming desperate. Half his fleet was disabled, drifting helplessly while human ships moved between them like sharks among minnows. His own flagship was still functional, but only because the humans seemed to be saving it for last. "All remaining ships," he broadcast, "concentrate fire on their command vessel. If we can destroy their leadership, we can still win this battle." 40 Zephyrian ships, all that remained combat-capable from the original 400, focused their weapons on the UES Liberty. The combined firepower of their plasma cannons should have been enough to vaporize a small moon. The energy bolts struck the Liberty's shields and were absorbed completely, adding power to the ship's own systems. Admiral Baker smiled as his ship's power levels actually increased from the enemy attack. "Thank you for the energy boost," he said to no one in particular. "Commander Williams, I think it's time we showed them what we learned from their weapons technology." "Yes, sir. All ships initiate final phase. Let's end this." The human fleet's weapons changed, shifting from precise disabling beams to something far more impressive. Every human ship began firing simultaneously. But instead of targeting the enemy vessels, they aimed at empty space around them. The vacuum of space suddenly erupted with brilliant energy as the human weapons created a web of crackling power that surrounded the remaining Zephyrian ships. It wasn't an attack, it was a cage made of pure energy. "Surrender your vessels," Admiral Baker's voice boomed across all communication channels. "Or we will disable them one by one. You have 30 seconds to decide." Emperor Zarketh stared at the energy web surrounding his fleet. His ship's sensors showed that any attempt to move would result in contact with the human energy field, which would instantly shut down all their systems. He had been completely outmaneuvered by beings he had considered primitive. "This is impossible," he whispered. On the planet's surface, Amy Rodriguez's rescue squadron came screaming down through the atmosphere like silver meteors. Their ships were small and fast, designed specifically for this kind of operation. "Ghost Leader to ground team," she called as her ship touched down outside the prison compound. "We have visual on the facility. Moving in now." Dr. Hayes felt her heart racing as she heard the distant sound of human weapons fire. "Jake, they're here! Our people are really here." The prison compound erupted into chaos as human soldiers, wearing advanced combat armor and carrying weapons that made short work of alien defenses, stormed through the facility. Captain Danny Kim led the assault team, moving with military precision through corridors that Lisa Hayes had sabotaged into electronic confusion. "All prisoners, this is Captain Kim of the United Earth Forces." His voice echoed through the facility's communication system. "Stay calm. Follow our instructions and we'll have you out of here in 10 minutes. Jake Morrison laughed as his cell door finally opened. Whether from his own work or Lisa's sabotage, he didn't know and didn't care. "Captain Thompson, Lisa, everyone, let's go home." In space above, Emperor Zarketh made his decision. With his fleet trapped and his ground forces overrun, he had no choice. "Human Admiral," he transmitted on an open channel. I surrender my fleet. Admiral Baker's voice came back calm and professional. Smart choice, Your Majesty. Please prepare for boarding parties. We have some things to discuss. The battle was over. But the real victory was just beginning. As the human rescue ships lifted off from Korvax Prime carrying their freed prisoners, and the disabled Zephyrian fleet waited helplessly for human boarding parties, a new era in galactic politics had begun. The species that had been dismissed as primitive and weak had just proven that underestimating humanity was the most dangerous mistake anyone could make. The meeting took place aboard the UES Liberty, in Admiral Baker's ready room. Emperor Tsar Keth sat across from the human commander, his blue skin pale with shock and defeat. 3 hours ago, he had commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Now he was a prisoner on an enemy ship, negotiating for his empire's survival. Your terms are reasonable, the Emperor said slowly, reading through the document on the tablet before him. Return of all human prisoners, recognition of human territorial sovereignty, reparations for destroyed colonies, and a formal peace treaty. Those are our minimum requirements, Baker replied calmly. You have something we want, we have something you need. Your empire continues to exist, your people go home safely, and you never attack humans again. And if I refuse? Baker gestured toward the window, where the disabled Zephyrian fleet drifted helplessly in space. Then we take what we want anyway, and you don't get the benefit of a negotiated settlement. Tsar Keth looked at the human admiral with new understanding. 3 years ago, when his forces had crushed the human colonies, the surviving humans had begged for mercy. This human wasn't begging for anything. He was dictating terms from a position of absolute strength. How? The Emperor asked quietly. How did your species advance so quickly? 3 years is nothing in technological terms. Baker leaned back in his chair. Your Majesty, you made a critical error when you first attacked us. You assumed that because we were technologically inferior, we were intellectually inferior as well. Your ships were primitive. Your weapons were crude. Your tactics were basic, all true. Baker nodded. But you missed something important about humanity. We don't stay defeated. When we lose, we learn. When we're hurt, we adapt. When we're conquered, we figure out how to be unconquerable. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. You reverse-engineered our technology. We did more than that. We improved it. Every weapon you used against us, we found ways to make it better. Every defense you showed us, we learned to overcome. Every tactical advantage you demonstrated, we figured out how to counter. But the time required, Your Majesty, you captured hundreds of our people. You took our scientists, our engineers, our military officers. Did you think we would just leave them behind? Baker stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. For 2 years, we studied every piece of your technology we could find. We analyzed every tactical recording from our defeats. We talked to every survivor who had seen your ships in action. And we prepared. But the resources required to build such a fleet. Humanity united in a way we never had before, Baker explained. Every nation, every corporation, every research facility on Earth focused on one goal: making sure that what happened to our colonies never happened again. On the bridge of the Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison stood beside Commander Amy Rodriguez, watching the alien ships being towed to secure positions. After 2 years in captivity, he was finally free, finally back among his own people. How does it feel? Amy asked. Like a dream, Jake replied. 2 years ago, I watched these aliens destroy everything we had. I never thought I'd see the day when we could turn the tables on them. Admiral Baker's been planning this mission since the day after the first attack, Amy told him. Every ship in this fleet, every weapon system, every tactical plan was designed with one purpose: getting you and the others back home. Dr. Lisa Hayes, now wearing a fresh Earth Fleet uniform instead of prison clothing, was in the ship's engineering section with Commander Pete Williams, examining captured Zephyrian technology. This is fascinating, she said, running her hands over an alien control panel. Their quantum field generators are incredibly advanced, but they're using them in the most basic way possible. What do you mean? Williams asked. They've had this technology for centuries, but they never thought to modify it. They just use it the same way they always have. Lisa smiled. Humans take something that works and immediately start thinking about how to make it work better. Is that how you managed to sabotage their system so effectively? 2 years of forced labor taught me everything about their computer networks, Lisa replied. but it was human ingenuity that figured out how to use that knowledge to cause maximum chaos. Back in the ready room, Emperor Zarketh was reaching the end of the negotiation. These terms will be difficult for my people to accept. The Zephyrian Empire has never signed a treaty as an equal with a species we once considered inferior. Your Majesty, Baker said gently, I think it's time your people learned that there are no inferior species in this galaxy. There are only species that haven't had the right opportunities to show what they can do. And humanity has had such opportunities. Humanity has had the opportunity to be defeated, to be humiliated, to lose everything we cared about. Most species would have given up. Humans used it as motivation. The Emperor signed the treaty with a heavy heart, but also with a growing respect for the beings who had outsmarted his entire civilization. Admiral, he said as he prepared to leave, what will humanity do now? You have proven your strength. Will you seek to conquer others as we did? Baker considered the question carefully. Your Majesty, humans have learned something from this experience. We've learned that conquest breeds enemies, but cooperation breeds allies. We'll defend ourselves against any threat, but we'd rather build than destroy. And if other species refuse to cooperate, then they'll learn the same lesson your empire just learned. Underestimating humanity is a mistake that can only be made once. As the Emperor's shuttle departed for his flagship, Admiral Baker stood on the bridge of the Liberty, surrounded by his officers and the freed prisoners who had become symbols of human resilience. Sir, Lieutenant Carter reported, we're receiving communications from across the galaxy. Word of the battle is spreading fast. What kind of communications? Mostly requests for diplomatic contact. It seems a lot of species want to establish formal relations with humanity, now that we've proven we can defend ourselves. Captain Thompson, now serving as Baker's tactical advisor, smiled grimly. Funny how defeating the biggest bully in the galaxy suddenly makes everyone want to be your friend. That's the way galactic politics works, Baker replied. Respect is earned through strength, but maintained through wisdom. As the human fleet prepared to depart Korvax Prime, taking with them not only their freed people, but also detailed intelligence about alien technologies and tactics, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. The Zephyrian Empire, once the undisputed master of known space, would spend decades rebuilding their reputation and their fleet. Other species that had considered humans to be primitive curiosities now sent urgent diplomatic messages expressing their desire for peaceful relations. And on Earth, the news of the victory was received with a mixture of joy, relief, and determination. Humanity had proven they could fight and win when necessary, but the real test would be what they did with their newfound position in galactic society. Commander Rodriguez, Baker said as the fleet entered hyperspace for the journey home. What's our estimated arrival time at Earth? 62 hours, sir. Good. That gives us time to prepare our report for the Earth Council. They'll want to know everything about what we learned out here. Sir, Jake Morrison spoke up. If I may ask, what's the plan now? We've rescued the prisoners and shown the galaxy that humans can fight. What comes next? Admiral Baker looked around at the officers on his bridge, at the freed prisoners who had endured years of captivity, at the stars ahead that no longer seemed quite so threatening. What comes next, Captain Morrison, is that humanity takes its place as an equal member of galactic civilization. We'll explore, we'll trade, we'll make allies and defend our friends. But most importantly, we'll make sure that no human is ever again dismissed as primitive or weak. And if someone tries, Baker's smile was cold as winter, then they'll learn what the Zephyrian Empire just learned. Humanity doesn't just bounce back from defeat. We come back stronger. The human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with them the news that would reshape galactic politics forever. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.